If you want to be a video creator on YouTube and you're not like a family vlog, probably not going to make it on YouTube unless you're willing to lose lots and lots and lots of money.
One kind of topic that a lot of people in our community feel like there's mystery around, and that is creating kids content. Right. I think, ever since COPPA and it feeling that you check in a box, is this made for kids? Is it not made for kids? People wonder about monetization. I didn't even know about certain RPMs, YouTube Kids app versus the main app. And you run a couple kids channels. Mm-hmm. And so you've got experience here in doing it in a sustainable way. First of all, speak to us like fifth grade reading level about the approach and the strategy and the upside and the challenges, because I think also as you tiptoe in, like, oh, I can't do affiliate marketing to kids. I can't put certain ads, Amazon's terms of service, for example. And that's one of the things we talk a lot about. So at the same time, it's a very legitimate, more than legitimate, like there's massive success as kids content creators or, content creator for children. So what's kind of the model? What would be the approach? What are the opportunities? And then what are the things you can't do if somebody wanted to launch a channel directed at kids?
Well, that's a big question. I mean, starting from the top down, I mean, Moonbug sold for $2.7 billion to Candle Media, and Moonbug is a company that bought Cocomelon and Blippi and Little Baby Bomb and several other big channels in the kids space. From a monetization perspective, like you're generally making, at the high end, maybe 25 cents per 1,000 views out of kids content, which is a blend of both kids app viewership and YouTube main viewership.
That's both combined.
Yeah, I mean, give or take. I mean, that's kind of on the lower end. Some of our kids' properties get, above into the 1, 2, 3 range, depending on the average view duration, the mix of views from kids app versus YouTube main, and then also the topic of the video, right? Like more educational based content is going to outperform like nursery rhyme, because there's such a massive volume of viewership for nursery rhyme that there's so much inventory and there's just not as much of a demand for it. In terms of like things you can and cannot do, I don't think I'm going to say anything other than like kind of what's in the YouTube terms of service, which like if you're making kids content, you should probably be able to follow anyway, right? They're not that draconian in nature, but it's like basically don't advertise to kids, please, other than in stuff that's been vetted by our team, right? Because those are the only ads that'll be served on kids content that is labeled as made for kids, is content that's been reviewed by a human and determined to be within the brand guidelines
which means
made for kids.
And that's not you. You're just checking the box and letting YouTube handle that.
Correct. Yeah.
And so does Ryan toy reviews advertise in his content though?
Well, I mean, it depends on what you mean by advertisement. So okay. I was having so I was having a debate with someone, and they were talking about like their app. It was a kid-focused app. They're like, oh yeah, we don't want to have products, no toys, and we want to have this vertical, which is science and learning, and this one that's about like your body and health and blah, blah, blah. And we're gonna have a gaming vertical. And I was like, let me stop you right there, right? Because a gaming video is literally playing with a toy for the entire video, right? Like, what do you think a video game is?
It's the game itself that you would purchase off the App Store or in-app purchases. So you get the downloads. Yeah,
exactly. And so like, they kind of like hedged and were like, well, it's gaming content, so whatever, right? And it's kind of like this weird subjective line, right? Of what is or is not safe for kids at a macro level, and then what is or is not safe for your kids, right? I think generally speaking, YouTube within the kids app does a pretty good job. They're not perfect. No one is. World's biggest platform, trillions of views, lots and lots of, people uploading, and by far the vast majority just want to make cool stuff that people enjoy. But, anytime, there's a party that's massive, someone wants to come along and ruin it. Yeah. Right. And people have ruined the YouTube Kids experience multiple times in the past. And so like, it is restrictive. Your content's not going to show up in the Kids app for sometimes weeks until it's been reviewed by a human. But in an effort to keep kids safe and protect the industry and make sure advertisers aren't afraid to advertise within YouTube Kids and parents aren't afraid to put the YouTube Kids app in front of their kids, it's what's got to be done. So like, there are some restrictions, but generally speaking, it's going to be fine.
I want to invite you guys to our YouTube 1K challenge. You can join this challenge for free as we show you how to grow your first 1,000 subscribers and make your first $1,000 on YouTube. We've had countless people join us during this 1K challenge who are now at 1,000 subscribers and past 1,000 subscribers making money on YouTube. And you could be the next person. If you just go to tube1kchallenge.com, you can sign up for the very next challenge, and we can't wait to see you guys there.
What kind of numbers, if you know the math off the top of your head, when I think about Blippi these days, and now as a dad of a 2.5-year-old and 9-month-old, this is why I'm now the most educated connoisseur of kids content. I've never even watched it before. And now I'm like a Blippi expert, and Mika and the fake Blippi second actor. He's at scale, but it's actually a pretty cool story because he started super simple and had to build up. Everybody started at zero. I think that for some kids channels, I think it's kind of an uphill battle, but it would seem at RPMs of those numbers and the inability to advertise that you could just do the math. You'd say, okay, if I wanted to do this, like let's say I want to work back from making a 6-figure business because I want to have a couple freelancers helping me. I want to film, and then I could pay my bills, and I could maybe do that at like 100K. Then if I'm doing the views play, then I need to calculate the math that I need millions of views.
For sure. Well, if you're getting a $1 RPM, right, you need 100 million monthly views.
100 million monthly.
Right? Because that'll give you, that's 100K a month.
Would that be 100K a month?
Yeah.
So if you got 100 million views in a year at a $1 RPM, then you'd make $100,000 in a year.
Right. But if you're at a 25 cent RPM,
now
well, then
you're
you
up to
need
400 million.
Yeah, you need half a trillion.
And that would be on long form.
Yeah, exactly.
Is short form even relevant for kids?
Yeah, there a lot of short form in the kids app. They're very bullish on that and pushing that.
But that would also would it be similar to the YouTube Shorts I've seen get about 2, 4, 6, maybe 9 cent RPMs for adults?
Yeah, you're not you can write off the monetization for shorts in kids basically. Okay. There is some, but it's like
a fraction of a fraction.
Yeah, exactly. It's impossible without being like family vloggers to create a sustainable kids content business on YouTube and, in my view, pretty much anywhere else, right? Unless you're pitching studios who are going to finance it, Like if you want to be a video creator on YouTube and you're not like a family vlog, probably not going to make it on YouTube unless you're willing to lose lots and lots and lots of money up front.
As you're scaling up to 400, and for us at scale organization, 6 figures is not even a ton of money if you have, right. But so the solo creator though could work back from that math. What kind of content could I create that would get 400 million views a year?
It's like lottery ticket style,
yeah.
Right? Like it's not an environment where that's going to happen. Now, the immediate kind of thought after that is like, well, what if you can layer in licensing and syndication and merchandise and that sort of thing? It's like, well, what individual has that skill set or the time to do that, right? If you're trying to put together like a 20-minute video a week, you're a single entrepreneur, it's just not realistic unless you're like family vloggers.
Got it.
Right? You're not going to animate that much that fast, right? Like you're just not going to, cast people or hire, like it's just not realistic in the kid space.
This is interesting, and I don't know their name off the top, but they came up to me. They actually were a part of our community. They've been watching for years. They're creating VR content. They've created a character. They film it in the VR world and edit it in like Premiere. And they said they're more like teen audience and kind of maybe like Chad Wildclay, which I think their audience is aged up a little bit, maybe, or is that kids content? That's not family vlogging.
I mean, it was definitely not family vlogging. I think they make interesting stories. It's an example I often give when I talk about like one of the first successful narrative, web series. Mm-hmm. And they blend it with all these other formats. It's brilliant. I love Chad and I love V. But I think there are audiences from age 4 to 18 that can enjoy what they're doing.
Yeah.
And so like, I don't think they make it specifically for kids, right? They don't necessarily often feature or ever, from what I've seen, like toys or products that are aimed at kids. They don't necessarily like speak to kids or there's no kids in their content, right? They're probably in their 30s at this point.
Yeah.
So like, no, I think they make content for a wide age group that isn't necessarily made for kids.
So that could be the approach there. They're not checking the box But can that content find its way to the kids app?
Yeah, in two kind of ways actually. One would be like YouTube reviews the content and decides that it's made for kids. Which I have all sorts of not safe for work thoughts and opinions on that dichotomy.
Sure.
But the second way is YouTube just sees that the content is popular with that age group and puts it in there. One example I heard them give is like, well, baseball highlights, right? There's lots of kids on the kids app that love watching baseball, right? And so, the baseball highlights, most of them are safe for work,
Yeah.
right? And so they put them in the kids app, and kids enjoy watching them.
Okay, so just in recap for kids creators and aspiring kids creators, that's going to be a tough model to get us in the creator economy if you need to even get enough views if you're checking the box and content is just for kids. However, if you're a family vlogger, then that is the exception. And then there's also this kind of line of maybe there's lots of content formats that might be interesting to kids, but you're not checking the box. They're not directed at kids. It might be very popular there. And so very interesting. If you enjoyed this content and want to take your YouTube channel to the next level, just click or tap the link on the screen or go to tube1kchallenge.com to join our next live YouTube challenge. You'll learn our best tips and strategies that are working here at Think Media, and I think you'll love it.